Assalamu alaikum, my dear students. I hope you'll be fine. Operation research 2 most important topic is revise simplex method. To discuss this problem in this lecture, let's start step number 1 to convert into the canonical form and introducing surplus, slack and artificial variables. Then the constraint is lesson, then introducing the surplus variable x3. Next the constraint is greater than, then introducing the slack variable plus then introducing the surplus and the artificial variables. All the basics variables are 0, then x3 is equal to 6 and a is equal to 2. Next, to eliminate this a for the objective function, to arrange a is equal to 2 minus x1 minus x2 plus x4 and then put in equation number 1 and arrange x1, x2, x4 and the other values of minus 2m. To solve this problem, this objective function are here and these constraints are basics variables are z, x3 and a. The z is 1 and other is 0. Then x3 is x3 is z. x3z may not present. Then a is not present in objective function. Then x3 is 1, only x3 and a is 1, z, x3 and a, and the non-basics variables are x1, x2 and x4. x1 is minus 1 plus m, minus 1 plus m and m. Then x2 2, 5 and 0. x4 minus 1, 1 and 1. Okay, is equal to b. Objective function is minus 2m, 6 and 2. It is b n and small b, xb. Cost coefficients of basics variable and cost coefficients of non-basics variable. K is equal to 1. b1 inverse b1 is equal to n1 and b. Next iteration number 1. Step number 2 to check it optimal and not. Delta 1, delta 2 and delta 3 is equal to row 1 of b1 inverse. Row 1 of b1 inverse 1 0 0 and n is this. Multiplication that 1 is multiplied by 1 0 and 0. 1 is multiplied then 0. 1 is multiplied then 0. Minus 1m plus 1. Then take this your choice. So solve is not to solve it, but it is not optimal. So column 1 of n1 related to x1 enters the new basics variable. This is the entering variable. x1 is the entering variable. Feasibility to check to its minimum ratio test. x1 is equal to b1 inverse column 1 of n1. b1 inverse is this and column 1 of n1 yani new entering variable column is minus 1 plus m to 1. This and to multiplication start 1 is multiplied by 0 0. Next 2 and 1. x1 is that b1 is equal to b1 inverse and b. b1 inverse and b multiplication is that minus 2m, 6 and 2 b1. Then ratios that and take this ratios that and neglect all zeros and negatives. To take minimum ratios test, R2 is equal to 2 column of B1 related to A leaves the basics variable. X1 is entering variable and A is the leaving variable, and update the current basis by operating that. Next, Z x3 R, सॉरी R नहीं A लिखते हैं आप A मेंशन करते हैं, आप A यहाँ पे मेंशन कर लें. x1, x2 और x4 all values are written. Then one is row operation plus 1 plus m row operation and minus 2 new pivot row. Then only row operations are applied for this column and the operations are applied for whole of the B2 inverse. Okay, then to solve this stat, next iteration number 2, similarly are repeated. Optimality test row 1 of B2 inverse. B2 inverse are that 1 0 m plus 1 and n2 is that multiplication stat minus 1. So it is not optimal. X4 is the entering of the new basis variables. Okay. Next, step number 3 to check its feasibility. X4 is B2 inverse column 3 of n2 related to x4. B2 लिखा आपने यहाँ पे और रिलेटेड उससे रिलेटेड जो कॉलम है यानी एंटरिंग वेरिएबल कॉलम आर रिप्लेस्ड एट एंड मल्टीप्लिकेशंस दैट आर B2 is equal to B2 inverse and B are multiplications that and compute the step number 4 to the minimum ratio test B1 over K1 2 over 2 1. Then x3 is the living variable and update the current basis by operating following row operation. X4 is that minus 1 2 and minus 1. X3 are that ये new pivot row. This new pivot row are operated multiply by 1 over 2. Then new pivot row minus 1 plus 1 and new pivot row plus 1 is new pivot row operating following the row operations. Then I replace by that of the and B3 inverse are following row operations are operate this and all the operations are operated for whole of the B2 inverse. Next go to step number 2. Steps repeat करते जाए. Step number 2 पे फिर iteration number 3. Step number 2 is optimality test. Optimality test करेंगे सबसे पहले हम delta 1, delta 2 and delta 3 row of the B3 inverse and 3 B3 inverse row लिखी and N3 matrix लिखा यहाँ पे following multiplication just M3 1 over 2. So it is an optimal solution. No negative signs are given. So these optimal solutions are given. Next steps are to find. Last steps are to find its solution. XP is equal to B3 inverse and B. XP Z X4 X1 B3 inverse and B. Then multiplication stat 3 1 3. Z is equal to 3. X1 is equal to 3 and X4 is equal to 1 and X2 equal to 0 and X4 equal to 1, but it is non-basic variable. I guess these questions are understand for every subjects and topics.